All right, we're live. Welcome to another edition of Elevate Your Grind by the Cannabis Lab. I am your host, Todd Rosales. We're going to have some more fun today. I hope you guys have been enjoying these. I hope they've lightened up your afternoon. I hope that you've discovered our entire video library on YouTube, that you've gone there and subscribed to it. I'm looking at you. Come on, guys. Go subscribe. Stop watching the video and not subscribing. It's not fun. Nobody likes that. So appreciate everybody giving the videos some love and giving love to the industry, but we need you to go on YouTube, search for Elevate Your Grind, and subscribe. Coming up tomorrow, we've got an awesome panel for you. Well, Cannabis Lab has an awesome panel for you on auditing, tax, and accounting in the cannabis industry. We've got Elizabeth Figueroa from Daskell Bolton. We've got Harry Rosenfeld, the CFO of One Plant. Mo Afana, sorry I got your last name wrong yesterday, Mo, but Mo Afana from BioTrack, Rachel Gillette from Green Spoon Martyr, who's an alumni of the show. Go check out her episode on YouTube. And Faith Gorman from Daskell Bolton as well. If you guys want to check that out, join clab.com, register for the event tomorrow night, July 16th at 6 p.m. Put You Are My Guest, Todd Rosales. We'll let you in for free, and you can check out, see what C-Lab's all about, the show or the network that keeps us going. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's interview. I thought it went really well, really enjoyed it. And today we're going to dig deeper into the world of cannabis marketplace and so much more. I'm really excited about today's guest. Today's guest has had more success in his short time since graduating college than most of us have had in many, many years since. He's someone who might be younger than us, but we should look up to and respect. And I'm really excited to hear his story, because anybody who decides to create their own career versus going out and finding one, I think is truly innovative and truly deserves respect. So without any further ado, a little further ado before we go forward, next week we are going to have 4 live shows. No, not because we ran out of recorded content, because I'm crazy and we booked 4 live shows next week. So tune in next week. Every day we've got Monday at 10 a.m., Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 p.m., and then we have a very special edition at 4:20 p.m. on Thursday. We have Eben Britton, co-host of Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing and host of the Ebb and Flow podcast. Really excited to have Eben. And then on Monday, actually, my guest today asked me how many guests we've had. He's number 49, and on Monday, we have a very special 50th episode that means a lot to me that we've gotten to 50, and we're bringing back our first guest, Brady Cobb, CEO of One Plant. So really excited about that. So now that I've gone away from praising my guest who we're having on today, we'll bring him back in. Please welcome Alex Milligan, the co-founder and CMO at Nugg. Welcome to the
Todd,
show.
it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm glad I'm going today and not following your next guests.
No worries, man. Listen, you were right up with all of them, right? So you are a very young person, but the amount of business experience or really insightfulness that you bring, man, is absolutely incredible. So I want to get into your story a little bit, because your college experience was different from mine. And I want to get to the bottom of it, right? When I was in college, it was, how can I get out of doing work? How can I make money, hang out with my friends, go to Florida State games and everything else? And here you are, junior year, you're like, how can we make more money? So how did you be one of those smart kids in college who said, you know what, I'm going to set up the rest of my life right now and start, I believe you set up a Lyft affiliate network, but there are a few steps that led to that. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned, because I think our goals were the same. My goal was also, how do I get out of work? But I guess our time scales were maybe the thing that was a little bit different. My thinking, and not just me, my 2 co-founders are on the same exact track. We have a very common background, and I think that's what's made us work so well together and start this thing together. But our opinion has always been, work really hard when we're young, because we know it might get even harder later on. And we want to set our lives up the way that we think we can. And that's only going to come from, perseverance and determination at an early age. Maybe not only, but that was the track that we wanted to take. So yeah, I mean, if you want just the general backstory, me and my 2 co-founders, Cam and Colin, met as fraternity brothers at USC, quickly became really good friends, quickly realized as well that we all had very similar convictions about wanting to be entrepreneurs. Well, hang on, I should mention Cam was initially going to go to law school, And then we started working together with this Lyft affiliate marketing program. And he very rapidly decided that he did not want to go to law school anymore and that he was in fully on, just
How did
figuring
his
out
parents
how.
feel about that?
Honestly, that's a good question. Luckily enough, all of our parents have been generally quite supportive of the entrepreneurial route. Cam comes from an immigrant family, so I don't think entrepreneurship is anything foreign necessarily to him. But yeah, we linked up through our fraternity, became good friends, realized we all wanted to start making money. And Colin, our CEO currently, was already working. He started learning how to code, and he was literally living in the fraternity house, as was myself and Cam, but we were all in different rooms. And at one point, I always knew that I wanted to do entrepreneurship. And the first couple of years of college, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I definitely did not, set my sights on just working day in and day out. I enjoyed myself. I obviously went to class. I thought I was a, average B student in college anyways. But I saw Colin working behind his computer literally 14 hours a day learning to code while everyone else is just getting drunk and partying around him. And I really admired that. And I knew it was a matter of time before I needed to reach that level myself. So I started just hanging out in his room with him while he was coding and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then it all kind of came to fruition when Colin took an Uber, right? So Uber was just coming onto the scene in Los Angeles, and no one had really heard of it. I can't remember how he learned about it, but he took a couple rides. And I remember one day comes into the room saying, dude, like this Uber thing is going to change everything. I mean, this is like, how would you get around off campus otherwise? Why would you take a cab? Like, there's no reason. It's just completely on an absolutely different spectrum of utility and convenience. And, he had the idea, why don't we try and bring new users to the company? So he actually reached out to the local management team at Uber and basically said, hey, I'm at a school of 40,000 kids, including undergrad and graduate students. And I've got, friends across the country and across the state that are at other schools. Why don't we try and tap into this college demographic that I'm sure you're going after anyways and bring you new customers? Long story short, they agreed to pay him a cash commission, $15 to $20 per user. And they basically just turned him loose with no instruction. Him being the savvy guy that he is, he decided to whip up some Google ads before Uber was even bidding on Google ads themselves. And
Wow.
he brought them, I think it was like 1,000 users over the course of a weekend, which means they were supposed to pay him 20 grand. And they refused to do that, saying, hey, we didn't tell you you could go after these paid channels that we ultimately want to control. And he said, well, what the hell? You didn't tell me you couldn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in classic Uber fashion, they failed to kind of uphold what they had promised him. Not to rail too much against Uber, but we all know the years of controversy that followed. Anyways, he decided to take the same opportunity to Lyft, said, this is what happened with Uber. Lyft said, we're going to pay you the same, but you can't go after advertising channels that we're also going to try and monopolize as well. Anyways, I know I'm ranting at this point, but there's
No, you're good,
definitely
man.
a sequence of events in that. At that point, Colin had this agreement in hand. He came to me and Cam saying, hey, I figured out that I could acquire users for Uber. We have some limitations to do this with Lyft, but I want you to join me. And so we banded together, and that was kind of the beginning of a 10 or 11 month journey to do anything and everything we could to bring Lyft new customers. Do you want a couple tidbits of some of the fun stuff that we figured out?
Oh, we always love hearing the fun stuff. And, obviously for the people listening, there's a main reason that I want to get into this story, and we'll get into it because by doing this is what allowed you guys to self-fund Nugg, right? So I want
Yeah.
people to understand, like, you had success and you were able to take that success and parlay it into something else. But if you're going to offer up fun stories and good stories like that, I'm definitely going to say yes.
There's some fun ones. There's some fun ones. So, I mean, we started with some very basic like campus flyering, going to different Greek organizations and, you know, making an announcement at their Monday night dinners. And then we just quickly realized like, look, we need to find something that scales. We want to bring in hundreds or thousands of users, not just like 10 a day or something like that.
Yeah.
Some of the fun stuff that we ended up doing, we figured out a way to essentially, not, I wouldn't say hack Facebook, but we were able to post. So what Lyft did was they gave us promo codes, right? And we gave a promo code to a new user, which would give them $20 off their first ride. And then we would get paid cash when that user took that first ride. So we decided to go into public Facebook event groups and just post about our code saying, hey, don't drive home drunk. Don't leave this party in a cab where you're going to be waiting amongst, 50 other people waiting for cabs. Take this new service Lyft. It's better than a taxi. And we ended up figuring out that we could use a different website to scrape every public Facebook event group across the country in specific areas that Lyft was operating. And all we had to do was figure out how were we going to post our code in these thousands of events that were happening every single day. Weekends were obviously like much more prolific than the weekdays. What we ended up doing was we literally hired a team of like 10 folks in Bangladesh, and we were paying them good money for what they would have otherwise made in their, in their economy, and basically created hundreds and then ultimately thousands of Facebook accounts and had them posting our codes in these Facebook groups every single day. And I like to think we were responsible for the double authentication and phone verification that Facebook implemented, because they did not have it before we started doing this. And we became notorious. I mean, there's literally press articles that you can find about us being the Lyft Facebook spammers. Anyways, that was a fun one. Then we found ways to like create bots that would post our code to coupon sites like Retell Me Not and upvote them constantly. Before the bot though was an even better thing. So as a kid, I played a lot of video games, and I found this program that would let me record my mouse movements, and then it would just run in a loop. So if there was like some like, wood cutting or wood or just any like weird skill I was trying to level up in a game, I would just put this loop on, and figured out that we could use this for the coupon sites. We could basically have our mouse go in, upvote a code, like log out, log in with another account, upvote the code. And so before we found a way to build a bot that would do this for us, we literally had a time where we went and bought like 15 MacBook Pros at a time from Best Buy, set them up in our fraternity, in our room in our fraternity house, and had this little mouse loop program going on. And we just have pictures of just like people like stepping over 15 MacBook Pros. And then after the 2 weeks that we were using them, and before like our window to return them was up, we would bring 15 MacBook Pros back to a different Best Buy, return all of them, go to the next Best Buy, buy another group of 15 MacBooks. It was good times, man. It was good times.
Dude, I mean, the ingenuity is absolutely incredible, right? You're 19, 20 years old thinking of this stuff. You're hacking Facebook. You know what I was doing on Facebook at 20? I was coming home drunk and poking people, right? If everybody remembers the poke feature on Facebook.
The pokes.
Clearly you were doing something right. But again, we bring up this story is your success and ingenuity with your co-founders in doing this allowed you guys to self-fund the startup of Nugg. So you guys are doing pretty well with the Lyft referral, right? Especially for college kids, just kind of doing the math, trying to figure out what you guys make. And all of a sudden you're looking at the next thing. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I found this out by watching a lot of your interviews, is you created the corn dog cannon 9000, huh? You remember that joke?
Did not actually create it, but I wish we did. We honestly, now looking at what Elon Musk has done, I damn wish we made that thing. Maybe we still will.
But on a serious note, how do you go from being a Lyft affiliate marketer to we need to create the next online cannabis market and then all the ancillary businesses that are coming alongside of it? Where does one go to the other? Was it just the fact that you guys were in Southern California, so you saw a need in the cannabis industry, or, was this a need that you were trying to fill for yourselves?
Yeah, yeah, great question. I mean, it was a lot of different things. I mean, yes, we had personally been exposed to the Southern California cannabis industry and saw kind of how backwards everything was. I mean, dispensaries were using pen and paper. There was honestly no one had a website. There was no online ordering whatsoever. So we knew that was a problem, but to take a step back, I mean, we ended up with a nice chunk of change after our stint at Lyft. I mean, we brought them 40,000+ users in 10 months.
Wow.
I think we, banked $250,000 doing that. And so we were in just like a unique position, right? And we recognized it at the time. Juniors in college, wad of cash, knew that we didn't want to blow it on stupid shit, knew that we were all kind of entrepreneurially, God, that word trips me up every time, entrepreneurially minded.
Yeah,
And
let's talk about that word. Entrepreneur is a hard word to say and spell for people who usually don't like paying attention in school. We need to come
yeah,
up with a better term. I can't. The spelling at the end of the word gets me every time. Not to
yeah,
dwell on that,
yeah,
but go on.
no, totally. Anyways, so we knew we wanted to start something of our own. And look, the reality was we saw what Lyft, Uber, Postmates, there was a company called Washio that was like revolutionizing on demand, like, washing your clothes. They'd
Yeah.
pick them up for you, bring them to a location. So we saw these on-demand technologies just clearly revolutionizing other industries. And it was just so obvious this was going to happen in cannabis eventually. Also at the time, Alaska and Colorado had just legalized. Being in California, and seeing that we had this like pseudo recreational market almost for 20 years, we knew it was a matter of time before more states took that same route and adopted either medical use or adult use cannabis. So look, I mean, we had a set of criteria. We knew we wanted to start something, and it was we wanted it to be a problem that we had personally. We wanted it to be in an industry that was growing, not slowing. We wanted it to be something that we thought would dramatically improve people's lives, and ultimately something that we thought we could, make a healthy living from. And the cannabis space became very obvious to us. And we also knew that there was like a little protective bubble we had. I mean, this is back in 2015. We figured most mainstream entrepreneurs and investors were not going to touch this space for a couple of years. And that turned out to be right. And I think was honestly a solid factor in us being able to bootstrap this company from day one. And, we're still bootstrapped to this day. We haven't raised any outside investment at all.
That's absolutely crazy because you're doing more than just the marketplace at this point. So, I said this and I don't know if, we had Socrates from Jane on yesterday, right? So, we talked to him and, I don't think people realize that what you did as far as create this online cannabis marketplace, it's not as easy as any of the other tech plays, right? It's not as easy as and I don't want to say Uber or Lyft or Facebook were easy, but it wasn't just like, okay, let's go to my buddy who can code, let's code this website, and then boom, we're working. There's licensing, there's so many different kind of restrictions that you have to go through and everything else. So it's always the most interesting part of any startup to me is when you go from the idea on the napkin, the paper, the whiteboard, to all of a sudden we've got an LLC, we've got email addresses, and we're executing, right? That something to nothing moment to me is what I think that every one of these guys, your Gary V's, your Tony Robbins, all those guys, once you have something, you listen to them and follow them because they're going to tell you how to execute and everything else. But I think every one of these motivational speakers leaves out how do you go from something to nothing? What's the literal step one, right? So you guys have this cash in the bank, you have this idea. How do you start executing and saying, we're going to start building Nugg or we're going to start building this marketplace? What are the first steps that you start taking and bring me into those early days?
Yeah, I mean, the something to nothing transition, in my opinion, is always founded on just listening to customers. That whoever you think your first customers are, and once you start getting them to pay you for something, you just got to listen to them intently and acknowledge that whatever preconceptions you have about what your product needs to be is not actually what it should be. It really is let your customers steer what the product becomes. And I think for us, I mean, again, the inception of this was really just a problem we had ourselves. I mean, we were going into dispensaries, not knowing whether the parking lot was going to be full, waiting in a lobby for 20, 30 minutes, maybe even more, only to find another line when you were inside, only to meet a bud tender that really didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Only to, you know, not have any access to the menu in advance. So there's just all of these issues with it. So we knew there was going to simply be a 10x better way to purchase cannabis. We initially started by working with dispensaries and convincing them, look, we think we can bring new customers to you. It wasn't that difficult of a sell in the beginning because every dispensary was clamoring for new customers.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is we actually started with order online for pickup and then skip the line when you get to the dispensary. We thought that's what customers wanted because that's what our pain point was. We never actually did cannabis delivery. So we built the product, you know, in kind of what we thought we would want. Very quickly realized, I mean, this was the big, like, first realization. People want delivery, and it was a little silly of us. I mean, we saw what Uber and Lyft were doing, and we still kind of ignored the delivery component. But in, you know, to our credit, it maybe took us 2 weeks to realize we needed to pivot to delivery instead of doing this pickup thing. And then it was really just a matter of listening to customers and to, you know, in the beginning, we used some of the same tactics that we had done with the Lyft affiliate marketing. So we built a brand ambassador program. We did flyering. We were posting in Facebook groups. We were going to Greek organizations on college campuses in the LA area. That got us like a good bit of traction. We also had like coverage in the LA Times, some other press pieces. But what really changed the game for us was we just started listening and recognizing that people had needs beyond just purchasing cannabis. We had people that would refer their friends to the platform, to, you know, our marketplace. And these folks would come on and not have a doctor's recommendation, which they legally needed to be able to use our platform. Yeah. And so they would come to our support team, which for a year was me, Cam, and Colin. And man, those were the days, 18 hours of support.
Oh man.
Still so much respect for our support team. They are the absolute backbone of our organization today. In any case, we realized people were coming to us saying, hey, I want to use your service. I don't have a doctor's recommendation. I've had friends that have gone to like a local 420 pot doc down the street and have had miserable experiences, everything from, you know, just waiting for 2 hours to see the doctor only to be seen for like 2 minutes, to like full-blown bait and switch scams. Like, we're going to advertise a $40 price and then make you pay $200, and we're going to keep your ID until you pay us that money. Like, horror stories, right? So we realized that, or we hypothesized that if we were able to connect these potential customers with a reliable doctor experience to get their medical card, that they would then trust us to facilitate their cannabis purchase, right? So what we started doing was we actually went out to, I mean, it must have been like 70 or more doctors that were prescribing for cannabis in the greater LA area. And we went through every one of their evaluation processes ourselves, brought it down to about 6, 7, 8, I think it was, that we actually felt were providing real, authentic evaluations, giving people real information that they could use to understand whether cannabis would be beneficial to them. Of course, I mean, this is California, so like there's a subset of the population that's just trying to use it for recreational purposes. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's a strong argument for all cannabis is medical cannabis. I mean, most of us are using it for, you know, anti-anxiety, relaxation, de-stressing, whatever it may be. So in any case, we started sending these potential customers to these doctors that we trusted by booking manual appointments for them. So we'd literally say, hey, you know, you're going to meet with Dr. whoever at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Here's their address. Here's what to expect. Here's what to bring. And so totally not scalable. But what we found was these folks were incredibly grateful. They would then order on our platform. We gave them a $20 credit for their first order. And they became much loyal customers than the other subset of users who would find just our marketplace organically without having first gone through this doctor process, right? So we figured, okay, how do we scale this? First, we literally just started doing this for close to 100 patients a day. I mean, we like hired a buddy in our fraternity to just call doctors and schedule these appointments. Anyways, very long story short, realized that there was a much better way of doing this. We could bring the entire doctor process online. We could continue working with these doctors that we trusted, and realized that California law had nothing prohibiting a doctor from evaluating a patient online. So that led us to launch Nugg MD in 2016. That is our telemedicine platform. Lets you go online, video chat with a doctor, and literally be approved for medical cannabis in about 10 minutes or so. And this was the real moment that took us from. I mean, we're still a scrappy startup. We've maintained our scrappy roots, but really shifted things from like, hey, how are we going to make this work, to, okay, we've got a business here that people see as 10x better than the alternative. And so Nugg MD really became the growth engine for us, right? We started, I mean, people would refer friends at an alarming rate, and we knew there was something there. And we would just funnel them into the marketplace after that. So it was really this like core experience of your first touch point being entry into the market. And that experience was with a doctor. So people naturally associated that doctor experience with our brand. Naturally, they should have. And so we created this like very trusted relationship with customers right off the bat. And that led them to want to order on the marketplace, to trust our selection of dispensaries on the marketplace. And, it kind of blew up from there. Honestly, Nugg MD just exploded. We figured out some good channels, and yeah.
That's so cool, because I can only imagine in the early days of both Nugg and Nugg MD, like you're sitting there, okay, all right, this week we're going to go to 20 dispensaries, and then you drive around, knock on the doors, talk to people. All right, now we're going to go to the doctors. We got to evaluate the doctors. You guys being the support team, you guys being the sales team, you being the CMO, it's just, I imagine, as hard as it was with those 18-hour days, it had to be really cool that you were doing this with your buddies and getting to spend 18 hours a day with them. And like, yeah, you might have had a day that sucked, but at the end of the day, it's like you turned and my two friends are there, and it's like, look at what we're doing. Like, this must have been really cool. It's got to be an amazing feeling to do that with friends, viewers, and actually be successful doing it.
So much fun, man. It's been such an enjoyable ride. I mean, not without its hiccups. I mean, to see where we are as a founding team together now versus where we were in the beginning is, I mean, it's night and day. I mean, we know how to deal with each other. We know each other inside and out. So before, when conflict would literally, I mean, we had moments where we were screaming at each other at the top of our lungs, hating one another just because we had, for whatever reason. But that no longer happens. I mean, we have ultimate respect for each other. But yeah, doing this with your friends, I mean, it's funny because as we were starting the business, like everyone told us, business teachers, like literally everyone, like, don't go into business with your friends, extremely risky, rarely ever works. And honestly, we kind of thought that was bullshit from the beginning, because granted, there's plenty of examples of friendships not working in a business setting, but it's worked for us, man. I mean, it just comes down to respect and realizing that we're all after the same goal. And I think it's been such a pleasure doing this with friends.
I think you're 100% right, man. I have that argument with a lot of people, whether or not you should do business with your friends. But if you think about it, when you get into a business, you start making friends with the people you work with anyway, right?
Totally.
So it's, were they friends before we started working together, or were they friends after we started working? Nobody's just like, oh yeah, that's my business partner. He's okay. I don't really want to hang out with him. No, you go, you celebrate together, right? So I think what you guys did was right on. And I can only imagine when you made that first phone call to your fraternity brother when you started Nugg MD, like, hey man, we're in the cannabis business. You want to do this? That he's probably like, yeah, I don't care what it is. Let's do it. I mean, how easy was the call to start recruiting your friends to join the cannabis industry?
It's hilarious. We even had, I don't know how familiar you are with like the fraternity process, but as a new member, you go through like a pledging a semester.
I was an ATO at Florida State.
Okay, awesome. We had pledges doing any type of work we could make them do.
That's the secret to Nugg success right there, huh? Pledges. Got it.
Exactly. It was their favorite work, though. At least they were not
Interns.
being, forced to like go run laps or anything like that. It was more enjoyable for them than the alternative. That's for sure.
So good to know. If you're going to be an entrepreneur in college, definitely join a fraternity so you can take advantage of your pledges. So you guys have Nugg, you have Nugg MD, which is live in California, New York, Missouri. From what I can tell, is it more places that I'm just missing, or?
Yep, California, Nevada, New York, Oklahoma, Missouri, and we just launched in Ohio today, which I'm super stoked about. And huge
Congratulations.
congratulations to our Nugg MD team. Yeah, they are absolutely killer.
Very cool, man. That's awesome. And I love that you guys are helping people find doctors because I agree with you. I think that experience can be weird, right? Especially, down here in the state of Florida, and I could really just kind of talk to our own experiences here. There were a lot of doctors that popped up specifically just for marijuana cards. And some of them are great. There's a lot of them that are members of C Lab. We love them and everything else. And then some of them, it's like you don't know. You don't know the experience you're going to get. Most people down here are hesitant to try those doctors. They want to find a quote unquote normal doctor or their regular physician to do it. And a lot of the physicians are not getting on board with the cannabis program, right? So I think what you guys are doing by pre-vetting these doctors and making sure that they have a great experience is amazing work. I am a fan of companies that I like to say are normalizing our industry. When I say normalizing, is you're taking people from the general public and giving them a very nice first impression and first experience in the cannabis industry. And I think companies like yours are absolutely necessary for all of us to succeed, right?
Todd, you are hitting it on the head. I mean, we have the same mindset. It's literally, when we came into this industry, even in 2015, I mean, you remember, cannabis was still stigmatized in a way that it's absolutely not today. And it wouldn't, be this way if not for the incredible work of activists and companies and patients really, educating others about what cannabis can do. But we knew that from the beginning. I mean, part of our mission is literally to accelerate the rate at which cannabis is adopted and embraced all over the world. And to actually facilitate kind of that acceleration, we knew that people's first experiences, like you're saying, just needed to be great. There was no
Yeah.
room for error. There was no room for people to go to a doctor and feel like they just got scammed, because that's going to turn them off to the entire industry. And then that word of mouth is just going to proliferate, and it's just going to be a longer uphill battle. But if you can make everyone's first experience something where they don't have to worry about, you know, taking too much of an edible because a bud tender told them, a dosage that was just ludicrous for a first time user, or, having a weird experience with a doctor where you're unsure of whether cannabis is actually something that can benefit you. Those are the types of experiences that turn people off in an instant. So couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think that's been at the cornerstone of how we think about serving customers from the very beginning.
No, I love that your company has that mission, and I think again, the more people that are going to think like you in this industry, the better. I mean, myself, I've been a cannabis user since I was 22, 23 regularly, but it wasn't until I want to say 26, 27 when I took a trip out to Colorado. Shout out to Green Dragon Cannabis Company in Colorado, not because they do anything for the show. It was the first dispensary I ever went to, first legal dispensary I ever went to. Showed me a great experience. I went out to California after that, and that's what made me want to get my card here in Florida, because I'm just like, these stores, granted, in California, a lot of times you went into a dispensary and they're showing the stuff with the highest THC content, but I had such a great experience in these stores. And I'm like, I want the same experience back here in Florida. And that's what got me obsessed with the industry. I'd always been an advocate for the plant. I was quiet about it. I bought into the stigma, but once I saw the industry and the people in it, part of the reason why I do this podcast, that's what sold me on it, right? And to be able to meet people like you and everybody else that's been on the show has been absolutely incredible. And I love, and I'm going to repeat myself, I love seeing a company like you targeting the general public, and you guys are probably great at that because of your digital marketing skills, and saying, it's okay, come join us. We're going to hold your hand through the process and make sure that this is going to be the best experience that you have. And you're growing our industry one person at a time. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to stop kissing your butt there for a second. And you guys have done Nugg MD, and then you also have something that I am extremely jealous that I don't live in California from, because I would love to sign up for this. But the Nugg subscription box, okay, there's the word that I can't say. The Nugg subscription box, man, it looks really freaking cool. And as somebody who's always curious about trying new products and different products, but also has a fear of wasting, we only have a certain amount of we can buy every month here in Florida. So someone who has a fear of wasting my limitations on something I'm not going to enjoy, I tend not to do it, right? Now, I don't know if you guys can do this in medical or not, but talk to us about the subscription box, because I think it's a phenomenal idea, especially for people that aren't snobs, right? When I say snobs, listen, the beer industry has it, the wine industry have it. There are people who know more than everybody else about it. They like what they like and they're not going to change. But for the rest of us, we like to explore. So tell me the story behind the Nugg subscription box.
Yeah, so this is Nugg Club. That's the official name of it. Something we're extremely proud of. And it's really the culmination of everything we've learned over the last 5 years and really just understanding what cannabis consumers want, what the industry is missing, how we can better support brands, especially some of the smaller folks. I mean, one of the big concerns that I think everyone has is, are these smaller local entrepreneurs going to get pushed out of the industry by, big corporations? And,
Yeah.
the Nugg Club box is our answer to pretty much all of these problems. And I think, we're still in the first iteration of it. We launched it in April, but effectively what it allows someone to do is go onto our website, sign up for a box. They give us their preferences. We then have a team of curators that we've actually brought over from the marketplace, because we were actually, I believe, one of the first companies to have a true cannabis concierge service, where we literally had experts, cannabis trained experts, providing our online and phone support. And we literally created an internal Nugg University training course for them to really level up their
Very
cannabis
cool.
knowledge. So we brought those folks over to Nugg Club. They're the ones that go all over California, scouting brands, trying products, and they ultimately match products based on someone's preferences that they give us. And then we are delivering that box to that person once a month, every other month, or every 3 months. And the kicker here is that they're getting an incredible value as well. We saw that the industry right now, especially with California taxes, it can be prohibitively expensive to get access to cannabis. And that's fundamentally kind of against the mission that we've been trying to uphold since day one. And so what we're doing with the box is actually giving someone $225 or more worth of product in every box, and you're only paying $99 for that plus tax. So it's a pretty great deal in and of itself. And again, these products are curated, they're personalized to your preferences, and they're all high quality and premium. I mean, we're not going to put anything in there that we wouldn't be using ourselves. So I think it's a unique experience. I mean, we see subscription boxes taking off in other industries as well. And I think that's kind of been part of our bread and butter, is like, look at what other industries and other innovative companies are doing and just try and get a little bit ahead of the ball within the cannabis space. And man, the response has been phenomenal. People absolutely love it. And I think one of the things that we knew we were serving up, but didn't fully appreciate, was just the experience of getting a box full of weed, man. People love it.
Dude,
I mean,
I'm jealous, right? And again, I'm very far away from you here in Florida. I'm not bringing this up for any reason, but my birthday's tomorrow, right? My wife's been trying to figure out, what am I going to get you? I see the Nugg Club box. I'm like, oh my God, that would be perfect. We just don't live in California. So I think it's a great idea, man. And for a lot of people that are on the fence about getting into cannabis or using it, or people who have just discovered it, it's an amazing tool to really help you educate yourself. Even people who have been using it for a long time, but have been using it in the traditional form, as far as smoking flower. To me, it's a great foray into the other products, because there's so many good uses. I imagine a lot of the companies that you work with in your box are happy to be part of it, because, it's going back to the restrictions on our industry. Marketing is tough, right? A lot of people are using a PR strategy. I'm sure a lot of the things that you did for digital marketing are very hard to pull off when it comes to cannabis, because of all the restrictions. That how do we get our logo, how do we get our product in front of more people? And I can only imagine that people are calling you up and saying, hey, we've got a great product, we want to put it in the box, how do we work together? Is that happening?
that's absolutely happening. And first of all, happy early birthday. That's
Thank you
incredible.
very much. My last day
Um,
of 33 here.
Congratulations. Do you think 34 is going to feel any different?
Probably not whatsoever.
Yeah, probably not. In any case, yeah, I mean, brands are absolutely coming to us, and that's part of the magic of it as well. Is we are solving multiple problems that brands have, in the sense that you hit it on the head. Brands right now, their biggest problem is just customer acquisition. How do I get my product into the hands of new consumers? And to do that right now, their only distribution channel is really dispensaries, right? Pretty much everyone that's tried billboards has realized very expensive medium to get brand awareness. The key is really like, how do we get our products into people's hands at a decent price? And they're paying slotting fees, shelving costs for being in a dispensary. You are alongside hundreds of other products. You have a bud tender that most likely is not necessarily familiar with your brand story and capable of communicating that well to customers. And sometimes they're even pushing products specifically because they have like a personal relationship to a brand. So you're just not getting the full power of what you would want your brand to do on a shelf through the dispensary model. But with our box, you are only alongside maybe one other brand in that product category, and you get to tell your story the way that you want to. I mean, we're including print inserts with like full-blown education on the brand. Consumers can then go log into their Nugg Club profile and get even more information about the product. That's something we're going to continue developing. But the other big advantage to brands is that we're actually helping them launch new products and test them in the market before necessarily bringing them statewide. And that's because we have a relationship with our customers that get the box, where they have an incentive to provide feedback on all the products that they got, because that will improve the curation and the personalization that we're able to give them for future boxes. So after every box, they literally go and answer several questions about every single brand and every single product. And we feed that information right back to the brand, which allows them to iterate on their products, understand what is resonating about the brand, the packaging, the design, what is resonating or not about the actual product experience, the consumption experience. And so I think that's one of the most powerful things we're offering brands, is really this direct feedback loop that they're not able to get at a dispensary, because really at a dispensary, they're just getting sales data. They're not understanding directly from the customer what is appreciated and not appreciated about the product. So yes, on the brand front, you had something else there that you had brought up or asked about that I think I missed. There's definitely more to unpack here, pardon the pun. I think the box is definitely going to be a something that's here to stay. Oh, this is what it was. So you mentioned, being able to appeal to someone who's not necessarily the snob, but someone who wants to explore. What we're finding with this model, and it's very counterintuitive to what, again, like, a business school professor would tell you, and frankly, what we've adhered to most of our business career so far, is that we're actually able to cater to a ton of different types of cannabis consumers. There might be risk in trying to do too much for too many people at once, but the magic of this is 80 to 90% of consumers want to continuously explore new brands and products. I mean, we're in California where there's a new brand coming out every other day.
Yeah.
So we're able to accommodate that need. We're also able to accommodate, as you mentioned, almost like new consumers who don't necessarily know the market, don't necessarily know who to trust, but they can come subscribe to our box and know that our curators are going to choose something that they're going to have a good experience with. We're also launching a smaller box option pretty soon, which is going to make it so that people who don't necessarily want to get $250 worth of products at once can still enjoy this entire experience, but with maybe just a little bit lower of a sticker price. Here's the real kicker that we launched a couple weeks ago, and I think this is really the thing that, honestly, if I'm using the box now to get all of my products. I mean, I've been using our products obviously for years, but everyone I know that knows about the box has switched to the box. No one goes to a dispensary anymore. No one orders from a delivery service anymore, unless they need something on demand. And that's because we now have a feature that is our add-ons marketplace. So not only are you getting the box, but as a member, you are now able to shop all of the products that have come in previous boxes, and you can choose these products. So we're curating the 5 to 7 that come in your normal box, but then you can add as many of these extra products to your box, all at wholesale prices. So this is 40 to 60% off. every single product. So not only are you going to get that like half price on the box itself, you then get access to buy as many more products as you want. And you're literally going to get them at just absolute discount prices. There's just no more affordable way to get cannabis in California than the box at this point.
Well, first off, I'm glad you remember what I asked, because I'd never remember any questions I asked after they're out of my mouth. But the more and more you talk about this, the more and more upset it makes me, because it's not available outside of California. And
Come over here, man. Take a trip. Well, maybe when Corona's died down a bit.
I, it's a sore subject for me, because we were supposed to do a trip this week to LA, and I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan. We were going to go to the Comedy Store, the Improv, Laugh
Yes.
Factory. We're going to check out all the dispensaries. I was going to reach out to you guys, try to do some stuff in person, but Corona hit. I listen, I love California. I just don't like your taxes. So,
There.
we don't have state income tax down here in Florida. So that's why I love my state. But saying that, man, like the service sounds absolutely incredible. And I can see what you're saying, that people don't really go to the dispensary and they switch to the box. I mean, as someone who in my group of friends is the one that's introducing people to the legal market and introducing them to products outside of flower, this is something I would buy for friends and family, for their birthdays, for their anniversaries, for any of that, because I think it's a great toe in the water to the cannabis industry, and I would be so happy to do it. So, on that note, this is California kind of has its own market, right? And they don't really give a shit about the rest of the cannabis markets in the country, in my opinion, because you guys have your own ecosystem there. How
it's
hard?
huge. Like we don't need to care about any other state almost.
Exactly.
We've got 40 million people here.
So the cannabis subscription box to me is an amazing idea. How hard would this be, or will this be, to replicate in other markets? I don't want to say once you see if it succeeds in California. It sounds like it's doing pretty damn well. So when you guys go to replicate this, how hard is it going to be to replicate in another state?
It's a great question. I wish I knew the answer. I honestly have absolutely no idea. And this is more the domain of my other co-founder, Cam, as well as Colin. I mean, they are really the operations guys, the legal side of things. We each fit a very specific role within the company. Here's the thing. The biggest impediment to this model working anywhere in other states is simply, what do their delivery laws look like? I know this much, that there are still states that have recreational and medical cannabis, but delivery is extremely difficult. I'm pretty sure Colorado is one of them. I think certain jurisdictions it's okay to do, but for the most part, I think there's some serious impediments to doing delivery. So, I mean, that's number one, because we are still delivering these boxes face to face, hand to hand. I mean, we cannot ship this thing through UPS or anything like that. So I think that's number one. And then number two is just going to be like, we need to find partners there. I don't think our model is going to be go out and buy licenses in these other states. I mean, they're already quite well developed at this point, and the folks that are license holders are clearly going to covet that status and probably not give it up for pennies on the dollar or anything. So it might be more economical for us to strike JV agreements with operators and really just kind of export the entire experience, the standard operating procedures, the ability, the way that we work with brands, the technology. But ultimately, we fully plan on doing this, man. We want to bring this thing nationwide. Again, all in pursuit of the mission of we're trying to get people access to cannabis in a way that's easier, more convenient, more affordable, and now just more fun and exciting than it's ever been done before. And I do think this model is the way to do it. So yeah, we're definitely going to be moving into other states. It's just a matter of time.
Very cool, man. Well, I'm excited to see that happen. I know we're getting towards the top of the hour here. So one last question before we go, and without trying to upset anybody, because you have seen them, what are some of the coolest things that you've had in some of your boxes lately that you can tell everyone about? Some of your favorites. I mean, we won't call them favorites because I don't want to upset anybody, but some of the interesting things that you've seen.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a company that just, and this, like I was saying earlier, how we kind of want to be a launch pad for new brands. There's a new brand called Chemistry that has their own proprietary vape pod technology, similar to how PAX has done with their pods, right? This is, you get your own battery and you can only buy the chemistry pods to fit that battery, which normally I would kind of be a little bit opposed to because it is like really carving out their own turf and you can't use a normal 510, threaded vape cartridge. But I got to say the product is fantastic. It's just a very, very clean experience. And I think a lot of vape companies do well, but this really impressed me. Let me think what else. I mean, dude, some of the edibles that I'm not a big edibles guy, so I didn't necessarily experiment with all these, but I've seen what's gone in the box. I mean, some of the stuff these brands are coming up with is just crazy. I mean, you've got everything from mints to now you've got breath sprays, like literally just like I just like the ingenuity of this industry is so impressive, man. I mean, and competition is what's helping us get there. I think this industry, every industry, but in this one, there's still this like camaraderie, even though everyone knows they're competing kind of against each other. We're still kind of in this period where, massive institutional funding has not necessarily come in. So we all try and work together to some degree. So the edibles have become really interesting. That vape technology is very interesting. Let me think what else. I got to be honest, I have tapered down my use in the last few months because I am doing long days again. And some days I find myself a little groggy in the morning if I am a daily cannabis user, but still doing the weekend type stuff.
Dude, I mean, I think that's a powerful message saying is you understand how you can and can't use cannabis to your advantages. And I think the statement you just made was very powerful. You recognize what you can and can't do on it. And that's incredible. And I think that's what a lot of people need to understand, right? When they look at our industry and we tell people, hey, you should try cannabis for this, or it's not just go roll a fat blunt or joint and smoke it to the nub. It's we've got creams, we've got topicals, we got edibles, we've got CBD, we've got all this other stuff, right? And if you can figure out how and what works for you and when you can and can't use it, I think that's incredibly powerful. Obviously, you're a user yourself and you've been incredibly successful at a young age and have a ton more success to go. I'm really excited to watch your story and everything else. Listen, dude, I've been saying this from the beginning. It's amazing to me that you can take things as simple as a subscription box. And what that does is it brings so much attention to these small businesses. And you're really just, I mean, it's going to sound like I'm making it better than it is, but you're really helping put the industry on your shoulders and showing it to the world, right? And as somebody who has a background in digital marketing and marketing in general, I think it's amazing that every step that you take is not only just for Nugg, but it's for the industry as well. So I thank you for that work, man. And before we let you go, what can we let you promote here?
Definitely Nugg Club, nuggclub.com, nuggclub.com. Let me give a promo code out. Let's go with, I haven't created it, but let's go with Cannabis Lab will be the promo code. You'll get $20 off your first box. So that'll be $70 sticker price for, again, $225 plus worth of
Badass.
product. NuggMD, anyone in those states, we don't really do promo codes or discounts because we're working with doctors, but get your medical card online, super simple. Follow us on Instagram at Nugg Club Official. It's our first foray into social, man. We've gotten so many accounts suspended and banned, even though we're following every rule to the T. I don't understand how it works, but we've managed to keep this one up for a few weeks at least. Hey, man, I really appreciate what you're doing as well. Seriously, creating a platform to share the voices of cannabis entrepreneurs, activists, what have you, is part of the solution. I mean, education and just spreading the message and just continuing to fight the good fight is, as cliche as that sounds, nothing happens overnight. And it's conversations like this and really putting the ideas out there that really make a lasting impact, because once one person hears it and has a good experience, whether it's with a podcast or a product, relaying that to their friends, their family is really what gets the job done here. So thank you for everything that you're doing as well.
I really appreciate it. And as long as folks like yourself continue coming on this show, I will continue to do it. And I am very, very happy to have a platform to promote the things that people like you are doing, man. Like you said, there's a camaraderie in this industry, and I think we all kind of become friends here. So
Absolutely.
listen, it's been an amazing time. Thank you again, dude. And we'll definitely have you back on because there's so much more that we need to cover. And you're still at the beginning of your journey. So
Yes,
really
we are.
excited to
Yes,
see
we
that.
are. Thanks so much. Cheers, man. Have a great rest of the day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody at home again. This has been another episode of Elevate Your Grind brought to you by Cannabis Lab. As always, I'm Todd Rosales. Find us on YouTube, search Elevate Your Grind and subscribe. If you want to come tomorrow night, join clab.com. It's July 16th, 6 p.m. It's going to be a great panel. This has been another episode of Elevate Your Grind. We're out.